Hey BookTube, it's Samantha, and as you can see, we're back in the guest room because my husband is trying to get all of his homework done before we go on a little vacation next week. So today I'm going to be doing a little bit of two videos just because I didn't think it would be long enough for two separate videos, and that is a mini book haul and then doing a little April check-in on the books that I've been reading. Now, the reason why I've decided to do this mid-April check-in is because, as you may have known from watching my previous videos, a lot of the books I read are from the library, and today is a day where a lot of my books are due back. So I'm wanting to talk about them a little bit before I have to turn them back in. First of all, I'm going to talk about the books that I read during Dewey's 24-hour readathon. And I just realized that I don't have one of the books. Oh no, I do. Ha ha ha, it's been a long month. Anyway, so I'm going to talk about the books I read during Dewey's 24-hour readathon. So first one is Stephen King's Creepshow, which I did do some research, and this did come out shortly after the movie. It was kind of just like a little companion book if you want to immerse yourself a little bit more. So I was right on that. Definitely agree that I enjoyed the movie more. I felt it was format that it was meant to be made in, and it didn't necessarily translate that well into a comic book straight out. Now, if they had added some things into this to elaborate on the stories in the movies, that would have been really cool, but that's not what happened. It's basically a straight takeoff from the movies. I gave this 4 out of 5 stars because I still enjoyed it. It just didn't give me the same feelings that the movie did. The next book that I had finished during Dewey's 24-hour readathon was The New Girl by R.L. Stine. I actually really enjoyed this. I was a little hesitant about it because it is meant for that young adult age. And usually when it comes to scary books that are meant for a younger age audience, I'm not as immersed in the story as I would like, and I definitely enjoyed this one. It definitely gave me the same feels that I had way back when I read the Fear Street books in high school. I definitely had that same story, the same ambiance, the same atmosphere, and that's what I was really missing and really wanting from this book, so I'm really glad I got that. I gave this 4 out of 5 stars, and I'm definitely planning on going to the next book in the series. I was really liking this. The next book I'm going to talk about is one that I made a lot of progress during Dewey's 24-hour readathon, but I didn't actually finish it until literally like 10 minutes ago. So I really wanted to finish this so that I could turn it back into the library, but I wanted to talk about it first. And especially since it's really fresh in my head right now, I'm going to be elaborating on this one a little bit more than with the other two. If you want to know more about the other two books, I recommend going to my April TBR video or checking out my Dewey's 24-hour readathon video, and I'll link both of those below. So this book that I just finished and was reading during Dewey's 24-hour readathon is Dragons of Autumn Twilight by Margaret Weis and Tracy Hickman. I absolutely loved this book. I'm really glad that I chose to read this book during Dewey's 24-hour readathon rather than reading all those short stories that I had planned out, because it was just amazing to be able to just sit down with this and read a huge chunk of it. I believe I read around 175 pages, and this book is 444 pages. So it was almost half the book that I read in one day, and I just love it. Absolutely love it. This is one of those series, one of the Dungeons and Dragons series. Specifically, this is the Dragonlance series, book 1. And I did a little research on this because I was loving this book so much. I wanted to know a little bit more. Margaret Weis and Tracy Hickman specifically wrote these books to give that Dungeons and Dragons gameplay feel to it, and I was definitely getting those vibes. If you don't know, I am currently playing in a Dungeons and Dragons campaign, and I play as a wizard character. So what I was really loving about this book is that they have a wizard in the story, and the wizard was using spells that I actually am using in my gameplay. And it is 100% accurate to the actual gameplay, but it's not like reading a game though. If you play Dungeons and Dragons, you're like, oh, that's so cool and everything. But I would think even if you haven't played Dungeons and Dragons, it comes off as a really good epic fantasy story. I don't think I could gush more about this. Like, there's so much action in it. There are some little romance relationships in there, but it's not the highlight of the story. It's more of just their character development and getting to know each character for who they are, which includes their romantic relationships. So I don't want anyone to be turned off because I said it has romance in it, because it's very, very underplayed. It's purely just to develop the characters. The action that's in here is great. I love the characters in here. They all have their own individual characteristics, and they're not perfect. They all have their flaws. And what I love about this story is that it seems like they're always just moments from falling apart and the whole mission being completely undone. I feel like with Lord of the Rings, I love Lord of the Rings. I love the story to it. To be honest, I've only read the first book. I've watched the movies multiple times. And it's definitely that whole different people getting together, and they try to have this feeling that like these people don't really belong, but they're uniting for one common purpose. With this one, it almost doesn't even matter that there's a common purpose. Like they're just gonna like break apart at any moment for any reason. So I like that you just don't know if these characters are going to stick through it or not. And it was so good. So good. And I can't believe I'd never heard of it. I have watched a booktuber, I can't remember his name at the moment, but I'm definitely going to link his video below. Or at least his channel below, and he talked about this book in like fall recommendations. And so that was the first and only time I had heard about this book. Love it. Absolutely love it. And that brings me to my book haul. So I want to preface this by saying you're not going to see a lot of book hauls by me. I don't know if I've talked about this in a previous video, but I'm really trying hard to pay off my student loans. And I'm on a schedule where I'm hoping to have all of my student loans paid off by the end of next year, which is 2020. In order to do that, that means I can't buy that many books, even if I'm really wanting to read them. But I had actually paid off one of my loans completely. So as a way to celebrate, I decided to do a little mini book haul. Since I said that it was related to Dragons of Twilight, I think you might know what I might have hauled. Books 2 through 4 of the Dragonlance series. If you don't know their names, it's Dragons of Winter Night, Dragons of Spring Dawning, and Dragons of Summer Flame. These are all written by the same two authors. I'm definitely looking forward to getting into these books. I kind of want to see how I do with the rest of my books for this month because of the Owl Readathon, which I'm going to touch base on after I mention this last book. So this one, I got this book because, one, I heard it's a standalone epic fantasy. I do not have enough epic standalone fantasies, and I really want to try it out. Plus, I've heard a lot of people reading the book, but I haven't heard any reviews yet, and I think it has something to do with the size of it. So I'm really curious to read it. And then third reason why was because for the shipping to be free, I had to hit a certain amount You guys know what I'm talking about. And this book had just hit, adding it to the other 3 books, it just hit the mark. And that is The Priory of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon. It's a big book, which is what I love reading so much. I love the big chunkers. From what I've heard, people who are reading the book and saying updates about the book is that they're really enjoying it. Some of them are saying it kind of takes a little while to really get immersed in the story, but that it's really good after that. I really don't know too much about it. From what I remember, it is basically there's like this big huge war every once in a while that involves these dragons, and there's another war that's coming up, so that it's them preparing for it. Especially since I've been reading the Dragonlance series, I'm just really feeling the dragon thing right now. It's not like I never didn't like dragons, it was just something where I haven't really read any books with dragons in them. I think the only book that I've ever read with a dragon in it before the Dragonlance book was Aragon. And I liked it, but not like this. Not like this. So I'm kind of excited about jumping into this one. And then just a brief check-in on where I'm at with my owls is this book qualified for Arithmancy because it's written by 2 authors. And then this book qualified for History of Magic because it was written over 10 years ago. It means I still have to do Defense Against the Dark Arts, which I'm planning on reading The Rowan. I haven't started it yet, so we'll see. I still have to do the red cover one. But I still have to read the red cover book, which I picked either Vicious or Wizard's First Rule, and I'm leaning more towards Vicious just because there's so many different fantasy books I'm reading right now. I want to switch it up a little bit, and I think Vicious is going to be the easy read that I'm looking for right now to help me get through that. I also need to read a retelling, which I picked Briar Rose by Jane Yolen. I'm planning on reading that one today. It's usually a book that I can read within a few hours, and I've got to get ready for the trip next week, but I do want to try and blow through that one this weekend at least. And then if I have time, I'm going to do the Charms Owl, which is reading an adult work. I don't ever have a problem with reading adult work. That's what I tend to gravitate towards rather than YA, but just the fact that it's the middle of April, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get to it. I need to read the other 3 books to make sure that I actually pass my owls. So I'm going to focus on that. So it'll be Vicious, The Rowan, and Briar Rose that I'm going to be focusing on for the end of April. So make sure that you stay tuned for the end of April, the wrap up, to see if I actually get to those books or not. So stay tuned for some more videos coming up. I'm going to be doing something a little different than what I've been doing. And I'm also going to be posting a vlog next Saturday or Sunday, the 20th or 21st, about the reading that I get done on my trip. I'll definitely be putting in some pictures and some video of where I'm going. So stay tuned and find out where I'm taking my trip.